What's going on, peeps? Mastermyne here, and today we're going to be talking about E3 2016. And what I want to do is I just kind of want to kick back and chill and relax and just talk about video games. As I'm recording this is Sunday, so what better way to chill and play some Journey? And actually getting into that is a gameplay you're going to be looking at right here. It is the PlayStation 4 version, and it's a great game. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, definitely do so. Moving on, so like I said, let's just chill and talk about what we can expect for E3. Now, there's a lot of games coming. This is, in my opinion, this is the best time for the new consoles. So whenever they release a new console, I always feel like the second year of E3 is when we really start getting the innovative titles and the great titles. And I felt that way with the 360 and the PlayStation 3 there. Between their second and third years, we really started seeing some great stuff. And I feel the same is going to happen with E3. I think we're going to get quite a bit of new IPs. I think we're also going to get some surprise sequels and some not so surprising, because I'm pretty sure a lot of us are anticipating a multitude of games. So the first game I want to talk about is Crackdown for the Xbox One. We saw this last year at E3. Most of the games I'm going to be talking about we've already seen in some form or fashion, but I'm really excited for it. I know a lot of people are turned off with the whole cloud conversation, but it is interesting to me that they can actually use the servers to kind of help make the game more advanced than what we're used to seeing. And just the destruction alone that we saw at the demo the last time they showed off the game was really impressive. So I'm looking forward to Crackdown. I hope we have an actual release date, and I hope the game is much further along and we can see a lot more of the campaign in that game. So really looking forward to that one. Another game that I think most of us were kind of hyped for when they first announced it, and then the kind of hype died down a little bit, was Gears of War 4. I really wasn't that impressed with the beta that they released and just some of the gameplay footage. It didn't overwhelm me at all. It didn't have the same effect that Gears of War 1 did with the 360. When I first saw Gears of War 1, I was like, yo, this is video gaming taken to the next level. And I feel like Gears of War 4 is just a slightly cleaned up version of what we've seen from Gears of War 3, minus Marcus Phoenix and all those characters that we love. So I don't know, kind of iffy on it. Excited to see more. I hope that it turns out to be really cool and a lot better than what they've already shown. Another game that a lot of people are really looking forward to is going to be Final Fantasy VII now, the remake. So I'm really excited over this because I think what they've shown so far, it's really promising, and the changes that they are making to the game are changes that are somewhat needed. And I think it's going to be really good especially for people who are really into Final Fantasy. I don't think this is going to be a huge thing for newcomers or for people who've never played Final Fantasy. I just think that for those people, they're probably going to want to play 15, but that's just me. But it's going to be interesting to see if they even have any new announcements or show anything new. So hopefully that's going to be cool. Now, I can't mention Final Fantasy without mentioning Kingdom Hearts, and I'm sorry guys, I'm not holding my breath on this one because we've been waiting for Kingdom Hearts, and every single time I think that we're getting closer, we're actually still quite far away. So I don't know, the gameplay that they showed seemed pretty good, but not anything mind-blowing from the last time they showed off the game. So I'm just gonna wait to see what happens, and that's really how I feel about it. The next game is going to be Cuphead. Now, I know we've seen a ton of Cuphead and No Man's Sky and a couple of other games, so I don't really want to see too much new from Cuphead. I just want a release date. So give us like a trailer and then just go right into a release date so we can know when we're going to get our hands on this, because that game really looks fantastic. The Last Guardian is another game that we've seen quite a bit of. If you're like me, I've watched all the trailers for The Last Guardian probably 100 times. I just really want this game, and I hope that if they do show it off, they don't show off too much, but they show enough for us to say, okay, it's almost done, and hopefully they'll have a release date for that one as well. Moving on. The next game, I'm probably the minority when I say this, but I actually want to see a remake of the BioShock trilogy. Now, before everybody goes crazy, just listen to me for a moment. When we first got the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, when they started announcing like remakes of games, I kept saying, you know what? I don't want these remakes. I don't think we really need a lot of these remakes, but the one game that really I think deserved a remix or the remake was BioShock. We never got one. I mean, we got Grand Theft Auto, which I think most people agree that was good because it was right at the end of the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 life cycle. It only made sense that they did that. Same thing probably with like Tomb Raider and a couple of handful of games that were just kind of right there. And BioShock Infinite kind of falls into that category where it came out towards the end and right at the beginning of our new generation consoles. But that was always one game where I felt like it was ahead of its time, and I'm talking about the original BioShock. As far as atmosphere is concerned, there still aren't many games that pull that off like BioShock. Now granted, we have games that have bigger worlds and crazier worlds, but just the atmosphere alone, just being in Rapture alone, I don't know, not many games can top that, and I really would like to see a remake to that. And while I'm on remakes, there's one other game I want to see a remake to, another trilogy, and that's Mass Effect. And I know more than anything on this list, the game I want to see the most is Mass Effect Andromeda. But if we don't see Andromeda coming out anytime soon, I think just to kind of hold us over, it would be really cool if we had a really good, well done remake of the Mass Effect trilogy. So hopefully we'll see that. Now, speaking of Mass Effect Andromeda, that's the game I really want. I want them to show it off. I want to see some gameplay. I want to see some direction as to where they're going with the story, because this anticipation and this waiting to just kind of find out basic information is kind of killing me. If that even makes sense. I don't want to sound like a total loser, but every single time I think about Mass Effect and they've teased something, I always feel like I have a lot more questions than I did answers. Even with the leaks, I just feel like, okay, what is this? Give us something. So hopefully this E3 will be that time. So two of the Microsoft games on the Microsoft side that they talked about last E3 was Scalebound and Recore. Now, I know Scalebound, they've talked about it for the last two E3s, but they actually showed gameplay of it this last time. And I was a little iffy on it. You know, the world looks really cool and the gameplay looks interesting, but that main character, I don't know, kind of reminded me of Dante, but it didn't seem to really fit in that world. So, I don't know. Recore looked really interesting. Now, I'm hoping it turns out to actually be really interesting because, you know, trailers and extended trailers and just, you know, trailers kind of showing off the world doesn't always translate into a good game. But the whole idea with that core of energy was, you know, moving from one kind of machine to the other and doing different things sounded really promising. So I hope that turns out to be a really cool looking game and playing game. Now, jumping back to the Sony side, you see how I'm doing this? Like, I'm all over the place, so just bear with me. But a game that I'm really hyped about is Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, anybody who owns a PlayStation 4, everyone's talking about this game. And from the looks of it and everything that they've shown off, it's really going to be impressive. It's going to be, in my opinion, one of those games that, you know, you kind of buy a system for. Now, I know that's kind of crazy saying that because I haven't played the game and we really haven't seen too much on it, but I can tell the quality and the effort that's already going into it. So really excited about that. Hopefully we will see a lot more. And again, a lot of these games that we've already seen in action, I want to see release dates. So hopefully that'll be something that we get. All right, so anybody who's into The Witcher and likes those style of games and games like Deus Ex and things like that, and even Mass Effect, I'm sure most of us are really excited for Cyberpunk 2077. In fact, this is my second most anticipated game that I want to see more of. The only thing we've seen is like these tech demo-esque kind of trailer, and just the concept alone really had me excited. The fact that the world is way bigger than The Witcher is another thing that really kind of just blows me away. It's almost unbelievable if you think about it, how far games have come. When you think of games like The Witcher and you think that they're able to actually create bigger and more epic type of environments. So that game really looks ambitious and I can't wait for that. It's my second most anticipated game. And that's kind of crazy because it's similar to Mass Effect in the sense that it's not taking place in this time, but obviously way in the future. So I guess I'm just a sucker for those kind of games. Speaking of future and futuristic, another one is Titanfall 2. Now this, again, very anticipated. I thought Titanfall 1 was one of the best shooters to ever come out, considering that they rushed it out and considering that it was kind of bare bones at launch, and even with the DLC, it never really kind of hit its potential. But they've been working really hard on this game. They've been really quiet, and it's going to be on a PlayStation 4 now, as well as the Xbox One and PC. So I think it's going to give a lesson to the makers of Call of Duty and the makers of Battlefield and say, hey, you know what? This is what a first-person shooter is supposed to be like. I think Doom kind of scratched that surface where they're saying, hey, let's do something different. Let's not be like Halo. Let's not be quite like Call of Duty, but let's take certain aspects from, those games that are really popular and put it into our game. And I think Titanfall invented its own kind of style to the point where Call of Duty kind of copied a lot of the stuff from Titanfall, but that's a whole nother debate. But had it had more time to complete, I think it would have really put a serious hurting on Call of Duty. Not that I want anything bad to happen to Call of Duty, but I really want these companies to be challenged. And I think Titanfall 2 is going to challenge the establishment cookie cutter first-person shooters that we've been seeing over the last couple of years. So that's going to be really cool. I would also like to see from Ubisoft a new Rayman game. Now, I know that's probably not going to happen, but I had so much fun with Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends, and I really would like to see a sequel to that. I mean, the artistry, the music, just the fun factor alone, those games are so great. Why not? Please give us another one. The new Zelda that we've been kind of waiting for and have seen glimpses of, I don't know how much Nintendo's going to be showing this E3, and I want to get into the consoles. I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I don't want this video to go too long, but I do want to touch on the new consoles, and I guess I'll start with the NX right now. Of course, I want to see the new Zelda, but I think it should come out on NX or whatever the system's going to be called. I don't think it should come out on the Wii U. I think the Wii U, in all honesty, it's just a dead system. I just think it's dead, and I know that a lot of Nintendo fans don't want to hear it, but the fact is, just isn't selling well. They're not really making games for it, and I have it here. It collects dust other than the occasional time I put in a Mario Maker or some older game, but I don't know. We gotta move on. I hope the NX is, and I don't want to dwell too much on it, but just to say, because I've talked about Nintendo a whole bunch of times, but what I'm hoping for the NX is that it's a traditional console. Don't give me a gimmick. I don't want a gimmick. And if you have gimmicks, have it be kind of like a side thing. Don't make it be the main focal point. Don't give me a gimmick. Give me a very powerful system. Give me Metroid, give me Mario, give me Zelda, give me Donkey Kong, and I'm happy. That's all I want. Moving on. I want Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, we all know that Rockstar, they don't bring out games like that every year, and they really take their time, and I think they're one of the few companies out there, developers, that really do care about the fans and the players and really want to put a lot of quality and thought into their games. It really does show every time they bring out a game. I really think that they're gonna put in that same work and same quality in Red Dead Redemption Part 2. I actually think that I prefer Red Dead Redemption over the Grand Theft Auto games, so that's going to be really hype for me and a lot of people, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Now, another hugely anticipated game, probably the top 3 most anticipated games for E3, is definitely a new Elder Scrolls, and I don't mean some crappy little Elder Scrolls Online kind of game. They really gotta deliver it. After what we saw with The Witcher 3, they gotta step up their game. The fans really want this. They really have an opportunity to kind of take over that space again, because at one point, the Elder Scrolls series was regarded as, the best open world, the best RPG, and they've kind of lost that in the last couple of years, and not so much because they're doing anything wrong, but because it's been a while since we really received a game like that. And also with the emergence of games like The Witcher 3, the stakes have been raised, and hopefully they're going to be able to live up to that. So I'm hoping that we do get a new Elder Scrolls. And speaking of kind of sequels, this is a long shot. Here's another one of these kind of odd predictions, and I'm not even gonna say prediction. This falls under that wish list sort of thing again. But I would like to see them announce, they're not gonna show anything, but announce a season 4 for Killer Instinct. I know that sounds probably absurd to most people, but what sounds more absurd to me is that if they don't do anything else with the franchise, now that it's gone to PC and is gaining more and more popularity, I say, hey, Double Helix can just work with new design characters right from scratch, as opposed to us waiting another 2 to 3 years to start over with a Killer Instinct 2. Who would want to do that, you know? So I hope that we get a season 4. Speaking of fighting games, the one I really want, and the one that everybody's talking about, is Injustice 2. They have to bring that out. Ed Boon has kind of hinted something because he put out this image, and you know, he's really trolly, so you don't really know what he's referring to, but I think it's definitely going to be Injustice Part 2. And I really liked Injustice Part 1. It was a really great game, a lot of fun. Again, it was one of those games that came out, you know, at the end of the 360 and PS3 reign, right before the new consoles came out. And I think because of that, the lifespan of the game didn't last as long. They only ported it to the PlayStation 4. They didn't do it to the Xbox One, and you know, the netcode wasn't really that great. So with a new netcode like the one they're doing for the one they've done for Mortal Kombat, the improvement that they made for MKX, hopefully they'll be able to do that for Injustice 2 and really make it an incredible experience. I can't wait. That is another one in the top 5 of my predictions, and also my wish list, because it falls under both, because I really, really want the game, but I also think that we're gonna get it, so that's gonna be great. Okay, so that is it for the games right off the top of my head that I want to talk about. Quickly, I want to talk about the PlayStation 4 Neo, codename Neo, and of course the Xbox One codename Scorpio. I've already kind of gave my thoughts on the NX. I really do want to see what Sony and Microsoft are bringing here. I don't know if this is going to be great news or whatever, but I'm really curious. I really want to know what direction the companies are going, because it's going to affect all of us, any one of us who's a gamer, a console gamer. And I think it's also going to affect, you know, PC gaming, because if you get these systems that are going to get a boost in graphics, they're not going to be quite as powerful as the most powerful PC, but they're going to be up to par. And that kind of changes whether you should get a PC or not, at least for the next couple of years. And if Microsoft and Sony continue to upgrade their systems every 2 to 3 years, where does that leave the PC if they're able to do it at a fraction of the cost? I don't want to get into that debate right now, but it really is just a curious kind of thing. I want to see where they're going with this. Is it just for the VR? Well, a lot of people are speculating, yeah, it's just for the VR, but think about this for one moment. If it was just for the VR, you think they would actually just remake a new, you know, their console, just upgrade a console and go through all of that just for the VR? We're not anticipating the VR to blow up quite like that, you know, quite enough for them to want to upgrade. I think they're doing this so that way when 4K TVs within the next year or two really start coming down, and they're kind of cheap now, they want the PS4 and the Xbox One to play on 4K TVs. Of course, they also want the VR technology to take off, but that's going to be expensive, and right now we don't have any games or applications that they're really showing off that's really gonna, you know, that's really exciting people for VR. And so right in the beginning, it's kind of going to be gimmicky. I don't think it's going to really sell too well early on, especially considering price pointing and a lot of different other factors. But I do think that if they do it well, bundle it with a stronger console at a good price, who knows? If you have, let's say, an Xbox 1.5 or an Xbox Scorpio, whatever they decide to call it, and it's just as powerful as most mid to high level PCs along with the VR, and it's cheaper, well then, of course, why wouldn't you want to do that? You can play your games on a 4K TV or 4K monitor, and then you have your VR. So it sounds like Sony and Microsoft are not taking a back seat as far as technology is concerned, and I'm interested to see what they bring. I don't know what they're going to bring, but I'm interested. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. If you got something to say, leave a comment down below, drop some knowledge, and of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you once again for watching. Really appreciate the support. Mastermyne out. Thank you once again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Mastermyne out.